Hello, I'm Alistair. I'm an osteopath, trauma-informed mental health coach, personal trainer and nutritionist. And I am here today to talk to you about the physiological effects of suffering in silence. So what happens to us internally, physiologically, when we are feeling isolated, alone, lonely? That's really what suffering in silence is. I am losing connection, or I have lost connection, and I feel like I don't know where that is anymore. I feel like the world isn't validating who I am and what's going on around me. I am not valid. So that is an unsafety, a very, very big bear chasing us. And in the stress response that comes with that, my nervous system engages because I perceive that as a threat. Humans are all about connection. When we connect, we start to realize that we're not alone. And the funny thing about humans is that we enter life alone and we leave life alone. No one comes with us. But the moment you enter life, you have a mother. When we are going through life, we have partners, colleagues, friends, other family if we're lucky. The point of life is to connect. The point of life is to share. Humans physiologically require it. We need connection. We've been proven physiologically when we are in a state of disconnect that Alzheimer's dementia kicks in earlier. When we feel lonely, we will die earlier. You often hear as well of people dying of a broken heart when their partner passes. That feeling of isolation and loneliness, sadness, literally ends your life because we don't feel valid. We don't feel like life should continue because we don't have the connection that we once knew. That's how powerful love and connection is. So what happens when we are in that state of stress, when we feel isolated and alone? We are in a state where our nervous system detects that there is threat. So the proverbial bear is coming to get us. And in nature, when the threat occurs and that bear is there, the bear is there and it is gone. Either you've been eaten or you've managed to get away, or the bear's run away. So what happened there? Your nervous systems come under attack. My sympathetic, which is the part of the autonomic nervous system that is involuntary, my sympathetic chain reacts, and it is a reaction. We can't control that reaction. It is very much an innate response. It comes directly from our spinal cord, just like you would do when you hit your knee and you get a reflex response. You don't control that. The autonomic nervous system is all about uncontrollable states. It is to provide us with a feeling of security and safety and get us out of danger. But in human life, the bear rarely actually exists. So when the bear does exist in nature, the bear goes and we're back into what's called the parasympathetic, the opposing side of that reactive state. And we are relaxed and again, we're able to continue on our lives without the threat there. Physiologically, humans will put ourselves via our thoughts into that state. We are the only animal in the animal kingdom that can think our way into danger. And by doing that, we perceive ourselves as in danger, as unsafe, and the threat continues consistently. This is, for example, like in PTSD. It's a cyclic event. You're triggered all the time. Your brain perceives that that is happening always. And as a result of that perception, you're always in danger. So we go through the same emotions. We go through the same survival instincts. You can't come out of that survival. It's very, very difficult. We also physiologically, in the neuroreceptors, we will harden the wiring up mechanism between the area of the amygdala, which is the area that we perceive in the brain that our monkey brain, where we perceive the stresses, where we react to our world. And we will harden those lines going towards the pathways that help us to stay safe, in inverted commas, because it's not actually safe. You're not there, but yet we think we're there. You think that car accident's happening. You think that sexual experience happened. You think that that attack happened to you. All of these things that have gone on that have caused that PTSD in the first place, where you have felt that unsafe, your brain is perceiving that danger all the time. And so what ends up happening physiologically in PTSD, and it will give you an example on a big scale to what can happen on a smaller scale in smaller traumas, but trauma regardless will harden the lines where our pathways connect to say that this is happening and reoccurring. And so I don't have any other pathways to say what might actually be happening in the moment where I can feel safe. I'm always perceiving this as a threat. So that pathway is very much one thick line as opposed to a thinner line with other pathways going off to different directions in the brain to say, guess what, there are other ways I can handle the situation. So when we do harden into those pathways, we are always perceiving the threat that is there, and it's very valid. Our emotions are attached to it. We bring up the same cyclic patterns, and we are unable to bring ourselves away from it. So we start to go into our survival instincts. They are the fight, they are the flight, they are the freeze, they are the fawning. I'm either going to hit the bear, I'm going to run away from the bear, I'm going to numb because the bear's eating me. Or, unfortunately, this last one's not linked to a bear, but the simple fact is that in fawning, this is where we have to make ourselves feel safe in our environment. So what I do is to try and get everyone to appease me, or I need to appease them rather. And I need to make the environment around me feel like I've got control over it, and that they like me, and that I'm being something to them. So I put myself out there for anyone to pick up, and I will put myself in detriment to do that. Simply put, I put others on a pedestal and put them first. I don't consider myself important. When we're in those states, we are very much in a state where nothing else can be absorbed. So we're lonely, we're isolating ourselves from ourselves. We're stopping ourselves take on other information from around it that actually might say that we're safe. But we can't see that. We're either seeing red, we're blanking out, or we're running away so far from it that there isn't the opportunity to bring anything further, new information on. We get that blinders, the blinkers on the horse. We suddenly can't see our peripheries, and it's just that one thing in front of us, the danger. And we feel isolated. We feel unsafe. We feel unseen. We're not valid. Very much so in that fawning state, we are not valid. When we're lonely, we're suffering. The withdrawal aspect is very much around being quiet. Because again, I don't perceive myself as good enough to express what's going on in me. I might not know myself enough to understand that that's going on inside me. And so these are overwhelming. And I'm too overwhelmed internally to think that anyone would be able to understand me. I don't understand myself. So how can I get away from that? When we suffer in silence, it's because we aren't safe, and it's because we don't understand ourselves enough in there, and we don't think we're valid enough to express what's going on. So the first thing to do is to say, I am feeling that way. Whether it's an admittance to yourself or it's to someone else in connection, because suffering in silence is the crippling state that we are invalid. If we suddenly validate what we're experiencing within ourselves, or we say it to someone, the pressure's off. You've changed that by just accepting that that's the case. So how do I even understand if that's happening? You might understand feelings internally of feeling that numbness. I might feel a little bit lost in where I'm going. I might feel demotivated, fatigued. I'm likely to have further inflammation in the body. And that comes from these constant negative thoughts that are going on. When we think negatively, inflammation increases in the brain. We start to come away from the ability to rest and digest, which is the pathway of the parasympathetic in the autonomic nervous system. So we are engaged internally. My gut might be feeling all bound up. I might be having random bowel problems. I might be increasing in weight. I just can't get rid of it. I might not be sleeping very well. So check in with yourself here. What is it physiologically that's happening to me? How is my sleep? Am I waking up through the night? How anxious do I feel? How much am I actually expressing in myself what's going on? What's my breath doing? What's my body feeling like? Am I tense all the time? Am I really lethargic? Do I just feel very demotivated and I don't want to go anywhere? I'm isolating myself away. Once you know those things, that's the point to reach out. Whether it's to a friend, loved one, colleague, someone, just someone. We need to feel that connection again. That's the first stage. And saying it is allowing the vulnerability for you to suddenly change that tact. Because you now feel like you're being heard just because you've said it. The power lies with you. Here's your opportunity.